Once I can get my phone to work anyway. And good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. It is the DOUG here. And it's time for my NFL Week 17 picks, the last week of the season. Some teams are in the playoffs, some teams are not. Some teams are tanking just to get a good draft pick. And I'm here to talk about it all. Now, of course, usually at this point I would say my partner Johnny B. Good would be here. Unfortunately, he is on vacation because of the holiday, so he will be back hopefully next week for the wildcard games. But instead, we have two other people with us today. Of course, you know him. You know my favorite ghoul of the holidays. It is Fire Ninja. Yeah, you don't live in Hill, Michigan yet, so that doesn't count. Yeah, maybe. And of course, we also have somebody you guys don't hear too often too much because he was gone for most of the year, but he is back. It is Fat Man.
No, he's not. It's just some random guy.
Now, Fat Man, I do have a question for you because I know Fat Ninja doesn't really watch NFL too much, and I know Johnny is a Ravens fan. We know my team is the Cowboys. Who is your team?
New England.
Ah, so you were happy I lost.
You mean not at all?
Yeah, I was trying to be nice.
Don't need to be nice. Yeah, I'm happy about last week.
So you're guaranteed a second seed, and I'll go over the playoff seedings and what can happen this weekend. But first, we got to do a quick recap of this past week, or as I like to call it, good week for my mom, bad week for me, because her Ravens did clinch the first seed, but let's go over that real quick. Last week, the Buccaneers lost to the Texans, giving the Texans their division outright. The Bills lost to the Patriots, giving the Patriots their division, but the Bills did still clinch up the 5th seed no matter what. And the 49ers beat the Rams, pretty much eliminating the Rams from the playoffs, and the Niners are one step away from winning the number 1 seed in the NFC. I would like to think as well the Cowboys did play a part in eliminating the Rams, so haha, Captain Ron. Falcons beat the Jaguars, Ravens beat the Browns, locking up the number 1 seed in the AFC. Saints beat the Titans, Colts beat the Panthers, Dolphins beat the Bengals. The Steelers got the most embarrassing loss of this past week against the Jets, and I'm going to talk about that later because everybody at ESPN, everybody pretty much on Facebook, excluding Captain Ron, you're the only one who actually bashed the Steelers, gave them a pass, and bashed on the Cowboys, so I'm going to call a lot of people out on that hypocrisy. Broncos beat the Lions, Bolts lost to the Raiders, Seahawks lost to the Cardinals, and probably was another big upset of the week. Cowboys lost in Philadelphia, pretty much guaranteeing the Eagles the division. Giants beat the Redskins, Chiefs beat the Bears, and then of course on Monday, Kirk Cousins continues to be the only quarterback right now playing who does not have a win on Monday Night Football. So for the season, I went 9-7. For the I meant to say for the week, I went 9-7. And for the season, I am 151, 90 losses, and 1 tie. And hello, Johnny. Yes, you did pick the Jets as an upset. I'm sure you found that hilarious. I'm kind of upset Stephen A. Smith did not go after the Steelers. Oh, right, that's right. That punk, Stephen A. Smith, is a Steelers fan. So he did not go after him. He gave him a pass. Fuck you, Stephen A. Smith, on that one. But since the Cowboys did lose, I have to sing a Christmas song. So this would be the part I know Fine Ninja either mutes me or takes off his headset for a little while. So here we go. It would be Bing Crosby's White Christmas, everybody. I may not sing all of it because I know I'm not feeling the greatest. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, just like the ones I used to know, where the treetops glisten and children listen to hear sleigh bells in the snow. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, with every Christmas card I write. May your days be merry and bright, and may all your Christmases be white. I wonder what the odds are someone's going to say I'm being racist because I'm singing this song. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas.
You're racist.
Of course, Ninja would say, just like the ones I used to know, where the treetops glisten and children listen to hear sleigh bells in the snow. Good thing I know Ninja and Johnny are joking. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, with every Christmas card I write. May your days be merry and bright, and may all your Christmases be white. And the song is done, so Ninja will come back in. Johnny, by the way, as you can see on the right side, he went 11-5 this past week. For the season, he's 145, 93-1. So I still got a lead on him. He would really need me to tank bad this week to actually beat me. And welcome back, Ninja. So I'm going to go over the games a little bit more in detail. Pretty much, I'm going to start with my Cowboys. They really blew an opportunity. They had a chance to win the division this past Saturday, and the Eagles were missing a lot of players. Unfortunately, the Cowboys coaching staff let us down big time. Dallas can still make the playoffs, and I'll go into that later, but it is a long shot of it to happen. I am expecting a lot of people in the Cowboys to be fired, most of them particularly Jason Garrett. He should be. If Jay Jones does not, that would be an embarrassment. Another big loss has got to be the Vikings and Packers as well. Vikings had a chance to actually, if they would have won the game, they could have won the division and had a chance to actually even get a good seed. But with that being said, they did lose, so they are locked in where they are, and I believe it is the 6th seed at this point. Packers have a chance to actually get the 1 seed as well, and I'll go into detail on that a little later. But Vikings really let an opportunity go away, and probably the biggest opportunity who let go away is the Steelers. All they had to do was beat the Jets and then beat the Ravens this weekend, and they would have been guaranteed the 6th seed no matter what. But because they lost to the Jets, which is kind of ironic and funny because the Jets not only have Mr. Le'Veon Bell on their team, but Hines Ward, who's also a former Steelers receiver, is one of the assistant coaches for the Jets. They got embarrassed by 2 of their former players this past Sunday. Now, of course, I know Steelers do have quarterback issues. They lost, I believe, Rudolph. He's out for this week, and they had to rely on Duck to win in the game. I know Captain Ron is firmly believing that the Steelers should not even be in the playoffs because of how they lost to the Jets in embarrassing fashion. I would tend to agree with that, but Steelers can still make it, so we'll see what happens. What makes me mad more than anything, though, Stephen A. Smith. And I know you don't watch these videos, Stephen A. Smith, because you're too rich and high mighty. You got a cigar up your you-know-what. But all Monday, you made fun of the Cowboys for blowing an opportunity. But yet you didn't make fun of the Steelers. So why not? You're a Steelers fan. You should have did that. You should have called them out for it, but you didn't. You let the Steelers have a pass. As a matter of fact, even everyone on Facebook who's a Steelers fan let the Steelers have a pass. Now, if this was week 1 or week 2, I can understand getting them a pass to the Jets. But it was week 16, a game you needed to win. You don't get a pass. And Captain On, I want to thank you personally for bashing the Steelers. Now to the best and worst parts of this past week. The best game of this past week was probably the Saints and Titans. That was probably my favorite game of the week. Worst game of the week, which was a very hard. I actually had to do some digging and look. Was probably Chiefs and Bears, only because of the fact that game was over at halftime. That was really a joke of a game. Best win of this past week is a tie with the Patriots and Ravens, for both pretty much Patriots winning their division and the Ravens winning the 1 seed. Worst loss of this week, I would give it to Dallas, but I'm sorry I got to give it to Pittsburgh, because their loss actually hurts more for them than it did for Dallas. Both losses hurt, but I got to go with the Steelers a little bit more, because at least with the Cowboys you can say, okay, they lost to a division rival. Injuries don't usually matter in those games. Steelers, you lost to the Jets, a team who pretty much is just waiting for the season to be over with. Now to some news that's happened over the last few days. Raiders running back Jacobs has had surgery ahead of final game, so most likely he would not be playing this week, so please edit your fantasy teams accordingly this week. So we shall see what happens there. Saints will be playing the starters this weekend, as they have a shot at the number 1 or number 2 seed, depending what happens with the Packers, Niners, and Seahawks respectively. Chiefs have put running back Royal on IR, activate defensive tackle Williams. Seahawks have re-signed Marshawn Lynch as running back, mostly due to the Seahawks losing about 3 running backs during the last few weeks due to injury. And Texas J.J. Watt, who had a muscle tear, is returning to practice and will most likely be ready for the Texans playoff next week. They cannot move up to the 2nd seed. They can do the 4th or 3rd seed, and I'll explain that in a little bit. Now, my question of the video is this, and I will, Johnny said best team week 16 49ers, worst team Panthers. I can understand that on both. YouTube, go away. I don't need to know updates about Family Feud or Crunchyroll right now.
What do you mean? Family Feud, Crunchyroll,
now,
favorite things.
Now I'm doing the question of the week, question of the video a little early, and I'm actually glad Fatman's here for this, because I know since he does watch football, he will actually be able to answer this question. And I know Johnny will in the comments and find injured. You and me talked about this yesterday with me explaining it like in baseball or something. If your team is already in the postseason and cannot move up in seeding or can't move down in seeding, so like the Ravens, who are the 1 seed automatically no matter what, or the Bills, who are the 5th seed no matter what, or the Vikings, who are the seed they are, do you really take the chance on playing your starters this week, or do you let them rest and get ready for the postseason? Fat Man, I know the Patriots are batting for the 2nd seed, but let's say hypothetically they had the 2nd seed locked up no matter what. Would you want Tom Brady to start this week, or would you want him to rest so he could be ready for the playoffs and not take a chance of getting injured?
This week we play the Dolphins. I think we do a first half with Tom, and then second half we rest him for the playoffs. Because we gotta at least take the 2nd seed.
Oh, yeah.
We already hurt ourselves by losing.
Well, hypothetically, if you didn't need to worry about it, if you already had the 2nd seed locked up, would you play?
If we had the 2nd seed, I would absolutely say rest them.
Rest them, okay. Johnny says for Baltimore, hell no. That's probably because they're playing the Steelers. For me personally, if your team's already in the playoffs, guaranteed, they can't move where they are on seeding, like Ravens or Buffalo or Minnesota, I wouldn't risk it, simply because of the fact of what if, let's say, Ravens do start Lamar Jackson and he gets injured and he misses the playoffs. You would look like the biggest bunch of idiots in the history of football.
That's something I always said, is that because right now the Ravens have built themselves around Lamar Jackson. If he gets hurt, what happens?
They're done. Johnny says.
I show up.
Yeah. Johnny says I meant rest the starters. So he's actually going with me on that one as well. Even my mom, who chimed in on Facebook, said rest the starters. We don't need our quarterback getting hurt before the playoffs. Fine Ninja, what about you?
About what?
Well,
Probably rest.
you'd probably okay. Well, yeah, you did say that yesterday. So
What the hell is the point of actually trying when you have the guaranteed spot?
I agree. Now I know
You already did that.
I know some Ravens fans, Brad, would not say that because they do play the Steelers, and I know some fans would be like, oh, let's make sure the Steelers don't make the playoffs. Sometimes you have to think more about going into the playoffs instead of hurting a division rival.
Honestly, sometimes the best action is doing nothing, and it's the case right now.
So, with that being said, let's go over the playoff seedings and decide who needs to do what exactly this week. In the AFC, the Baltimore Ravens already clinched the number 1 seed. Home field advantage, so they don't have to do nothing. In Week 17, it's a meaningless game for them against the Steelers. Why, yes, it is meaningful for the Steelers, which I'll get to later. Ravens, we don't know what they're doing. They may start their starters, they may rest, we don't know yet, but their game really doesn't matter for them in that sense. It just matters for Pittsburgh. The New England Patriots are the 2 seed at the moment. They did clinch their division, but as good old Fat Man said, they have to beat the Dolphins to guarantee the 2nd seed. If the Patriots lose and the Chiefs win, the Patriots will drop to the 3rd seed. Now, for Kansas City, they will either be the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th seed after this weekend. If they win and Patriots win, Chiefs will be the 3rd seed. If the Chiefs beat the Chargers and the Patriots lose to Miami, the Chiefs can move up to the 2nd seed. Now, here's the bad news. If the Chiefs lose and the Texans win, the Chiefs will drop to the 4th seed. So I expect most likely the Chiefs to play their starters, and they do play the Chargers this week. So keep an eye on that game as well. I know Patriots fans will probably be keeping an eye on the Chiefs game just in case if Miami somehow shocks the ward again like they did last year.
That was bullshit.
And as far as for the Texans, they're right now holding the 4th seed. They can only move up to the 3rd seed with some help. They do play the Titans. Right now the Titans, if the Titans do win, Titans get into the playoffs, which I'll explain later. The Bills, they already clinched a playoff spot. And they're automatically the 5th seed no matter what, win or lose against the Jets. So I don't know if they're going to start their starters or not either. They do play against the Jets though, so it is a divisional rivalry game, but doesn't really mean anything for the Bills. Bills are in no matter what this Sunday as 5th seed. Congratulations to Buffalo, by the way. This is the first time they've been in the playoffs, I think, in a very long time. And then we get to the 6th seed, which is probably the most interesting seed thing in the AFC right now. The Titans currently hold that spot at 8-7. You know, they did lose to the Saints, but the Bills beating the Steelers did help them. Now the Titans can clinch the 6th seed with a victory over the Texans, who's already in no matter what, and all losses by the Steelers and Colts respectively. ESPN gives them a 56.9% chance of that happening. We shall see. Now in the hunt, the Pittsburgh Steelers, for them to make the playoffs, they have to beat the Ravens, but they would need the Titans to lose to the Texans as well. The only other scenario for the Steelers to clinch is a Titans loss, a win by the Colts, and losses by the Bears, Lions, Chargers, and Patriots. So in better words, Pittsburgh, you better win your game and hope the Titans lose, or else you ain't making the playoffs. Now, Oakland Raiders, they're still in the hunt as well, believe it or not. Yes, the Oakland freaking Raiders are still in the hunt. Now, for the Raiders to make it there, and they have the longest shot of this happening as a 13% chance, for the Raiders to make it, they have to beat the Broncos, and then the Ravens, Texans, and Colts have to win. Also, they would need a victory by one of the following teams: Bears, Lions, Chiefs, and Patriots. So that's probably the longest shot because of the fact of Ravens may rest their starters. We don't know what's going to happen with the Texans, Titans either. And the Colts have been somewhat disappointing. By the way, the Bengals have already got the #1 pick in the draft. And there is... Johnny says we're resting Jackson or Thomas. So yeah, he thinks. And my buddy Dave says let's go 49ers. Speaking of the Niners, in the NFC, the Niners are right now all the #1 seed for the moment. They can clinch the 1 seed in their division by beating the Seahawks this weekend. However, if they lose, they would end up playing in the wild card round. So this Sunday night's game, Niners in Seattle, is very important. Now the Packers clinched the NFC North title on Monday, beating the Vikings. Now they can lock up a first round bye by beating the Lions this week or a Saints loss. Now for the Packers, are not out of the race for home field advantage either, as they can get the #1 spot if they beat the Lions and the Seahawks beat the 49ers on Sunday night. Now, of course, for the Saints, they're not out of it either. The Saints currently are the 3rd seed. That will be them no matter what, depending what happens. But, for the face of an argument, the Saints have a number of scenarios for getting back into a position for a first-round playoff bye, however. If the Saints win with a 49ers loss, Saints would move up to the #2 seed. Now a win and a Packers loss would move the Saints to the 2 seed. And wins by the Packers and Seahawks, and the Saints win as well. Saints play Carolina. Now the Eagles, all they have to do to win their division is beat the Giants this weekend. Now if the Eagles somehow do lose to the Giants, they would have to hope the Cowboys lose to the Skins. So that's the only way the Eagles can miss it. Eagles will most likely... Johnny's going to leave his picks in there. I hope you have a great rest of the year. Same to you, Johnny, and I hope you had a good Christmas. So yeah, that is that. Now the Seahawks right now, they're the 5th seed at the moment, but they can move up to the 1 seed if they beat the Niners and get some help. And as far as for the Vikings, they are the 6th seed no matter what. Win, lose, or draw, they are the 6th seed. They will be playing the 3rd seed in the wild card round. The last time the Vikings won a world playoff game was in 2004. And like I said, Dallas can still make the playoffs, but they need a win and a Eagles loss. If Eagles and Cowboys both lose, then the Eagles win the division as an 8-8, as a 7-9 team, I believe they would be. Yeah, no, Eagles would be 8-8, so they would win the division if both the Eagles and Cowboys lose this weekend. Unfortunately, the index points at 73.8% chance of likelihood of Cowboys missing the playoffs after that loss. So that is disappointing there. Alright, with that being done, we get to go to this week's picks. I know Johnny will put his in the comment. Fine Ninja and Fat Man can say their picks if they so wish. Game 1, we're going to start with the Steelers and Ravens on this. Ravens, like I said earlier, are already the #1 seed no matter what. Now, of course, the times on here are not correct because Madden does not update for that. Steelers need this game to make the playoffs, but I think the Ravens are going to rest their starters, and they're going to just let them rest so they can not have any injuries going into the 1 seed as the AFC leader. So I'm going to take the Steelers here on the road. To me, it makes the most sense because I don't see the Ravens starting the starters. Sorry, Brad, and rest of you Ravens fans out there, I have to be smart with this one. Dave is taking the Ravens, and Johnny's picks are Jets over the Bills. He's got the Saints. Lock of the week is the Browns. He's got the Packers, the Chiefs, the Vikings losing to... he's got the Bears beating the Vikings. He's got the Pats over the Dolphins. I'm sure we'll put more up there later. Second game, Jets and Bills. Rest of Johnny's picks, he's got the Eagles, Ravens, Titans, Raiders, Colts, 49ers winning. Jets and Bills. I have the Bills, so the Bills are already in the 5th seed. I think they will actually start their starters long enough to get them at least loose enough to be ready for next week in the wild card round. I think the Jets' Super Bowl was last week when they beat the Steelers, so there's that. Next, Falcons and Buccaneers, and this game's important because I believe that if Atlanta loses this game, they will be firing their head coach. Next week, pretty much probably Monday or Tuesday, actually. But I am taking the Bucs to win this one. I think the Bucs have looked way better the last few weeks, even with that Buccaneers loss they had. I think Jameis Winston, it's kind of funny, he's leading the league in passing yards and interceptions. And Dave's got the Bills and the Bucs as well. Up next, it's the Eagles and Giants. As you can see, you know, that says forced win and all that. That's because that's where he doesn't count for the picks. That's because of the fact that I don't want any ties in Week 17 in my franchise mode. Eagles and Giants. Eagles win this, they win the division. If they lose somehow and the Cowboys win the division, but unfortunately for my Cowboy friends like myself, that's probably not going to happen. Eagles win on the road, beating the Giants. Up next, it is the Saints taking on the Panthers. Out of the Saints here, guys. Panthers looking for a new coach because they did let their coach go a few weeks ago. They're probably going to be looking for a new quarterback as well because we don't know if Cam Newton's going to still be there or not. And they've already went to the third string quarterback. Because the one they had, who was looking so good after the first few games when he started, kind of imploded. So I'm taking the Saints here. Up next, it is the Browns and the Bengals. I'm taking the Browns here. WKRP Cincinnati's been dead all year long. Bengals want that 1 seed, which they've locked up guaranteed. I just think they want to just get the season over with. So Browns win. And Dave's got the Giants as an upset, and he's got the Panthers on an upset. Okay. But he's got the Browns as well. Up next, it is the Cowboys and Redskins. I am taking the Cowboys here. You know, that's my motto. I take my team to win no matter what. I would love to see the Giants get the upset, but I don't think it's going to happen. Cowboys will finish 8-8 and miss the playoffs after being a playoff team last year. Ironically enough, the Rams are also a team from the playoffs last year who are missing it. And I think the Chicago Bears, who were also a playoff team last year, missing it as well. So we definitely are seeing 3 new teams in the playoffs. Who didn't make it last year, if I am correct. I might be wrong on that. If I am, I know somebody will let me know in the comments. And Dave's taking the Cowboys, surprisingly. Up next, it is the Packers and Lions. I have the Packers here. That is my lock of the week. Lions, I'm surprised they're keeping their head coach. They said that a few weeks ago they were not firing him. But I do applaud that. Because it means you're going to give him one more chance. And he has had to deal with a lot of injuries this season. And I'm a firm believer, if you have too many injuries on your team, you can't really blame the coach for the losses. You know, so I know everyone's going to be like, well, Doug, look at the Steelers. You know, they've been able to have, you know, a chance to make the playoffs. I'm like, yes, but not every coach can do that. I think will be interesting to see what the Lions do in the off season, though. But I got the Packers. Up next, Titans and Texans. I have the Titans getting their revenge and winning this game and giving them the 6th seed over the Texans. I think Texans are just going to rest their players because it's going to be kind of hard for them to get the 3rd seed because who the Chiefs are playing. Plus, since the Chiefs do have a chance to steal the 2nd seed, depending what happens. I don't see that happening. But Titans win. Dave's got the Packers and the Houston Texans. Up next, a game that doesn't really mean anything in the grand scheme of things too much. Colts and Jaguars. This game only really means something depending what happens with other games. But I'm taking the Colts here. Colts are just a better team over Jacksonville. Up next, it is the Chargers and Chiefs. Chargers really doesn't mean anything for them. They're already eliminated from the playoffs. Kansas City would love to get that number 2 seed. I'm taking the Chiefs here, but unfortunately the Chiefs will be playing on Wild Card Weekend. As well, you'll find out a little bit later. And my upset pick of the week, it is the Bears traveling to Minnesota. Vikings are the 6th seed no matter what. I expect them to rest the players. Granted, if I'm honest, I don't think they should rest them. I think they should force Kirk Cousins to play after that terrible Monday night game to show that he was actually worth all that money. But Bears win. And I'm going to say this as well. Looking at the NFC, I know everyone's going to say the Eagles or the Cowboys, whichever one makes it in at this point, will be the worst team going into the NFC based on their record, and I can understand that. But for me personally, I would have to say the Vikings would have to get that honor, because Kirk Cousins, and I'm going to say this goes directly to him and Viking fans. He needs to step up in the playoffs. He needs to win that wild card game to show that he was worth that $80 million plus money. Particularly after losing Monday night to the Packers in a game you needed to win your division. If they lose in the wild card and they're out, there's going to be a lot of Viking fans asking, why did we give this guy all that money? Dave's got the Bolts and Jags. Up next, it is Fat Man's team, the Patriots, playing the Dolphins. Now, of course, this is a New England, so I do not expect the same kind of things from last year's game when the Patriots lost in Miami. So Patriots win. I highly doubt the Dolphins will get any help from the referees in this game, which seems to be the MO a lot with Patriots games. Ironically enough, the NFL did come out and say that the refs did miss a lot of face penalties in the end of the Bills' drive last week. But again, I've bitched about the refs enough this year it's come an old habit, because the refs can never call a game clean anymore, which is kind of sad. And I say that for every game at this point. Dave's got the Vikings and the Dolphins in an upset. That's brave of you, Dave. Raiders and Broncos, this game kind of means a little something. Raiders can still get the playoffs, 6 seed with a lot of help. But I don't think that's going to happen, but I do think the Raiders win the game. Cardinals and Rams really doesn't mean much either. I am taking... Who the hell do I have in that game? I have the Rams here. I think they're just a better team. I think they're going to really... The Rams, Cowboys, and Bears are going to look themselves in the mirror and be like, why did we not make the playoffs when we have all this talent or everything like that? But Rams should win this game. And lastly, it is the Sunday night game, Niners and Seahawks. This was a hard pick for me, because Seattle just signed Marshawn Lynch back, beast mode, who's supposed to be playing this week. Which is kind of odd. I don't know if he's going to be ready or not. The game is in Seattle, so San Francisco does have to deal with that very loud fan base. Now, defensively, the 49ers are the better team, but what made me gave me a hard time, I even think Dave should agree with me on this. Russell Wilson is definitely the better quarterback than Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't think anybody could argue that, particularly. I'm sorry, Jimmy Garoppolo has not proven to me he's an elite quarterback. I think for that to happen, he would have to at least get to the NFC Championship game. But as we've seen, the Niners are not built for the quarterback to win games. It is the defense that pretty much wins them games. Dave says Jimmy holds the damn ball too long. That I do agree with. That's one of his problems. He holds it too long, and that's most of the losses you've had. It could be a tone of that. But I think the Niners defense will step up. I don't think Marshawn Lynch will be ready, 100% ready to play, because this will be his first game in a long time. So I'm going to take the Niners here against my better judgment, because even though I trust Russell Wilson more, I can't trust the running game for Seattle to actually bail him out. And when I mean bail out for Russell, I mean pretty much Russell Wilson's been doing all the damn work on offense. I think they'll lose this game, but I think if they play in a rematch in the playoffs, I might take Seattle, seeing how Lynch does. Seattle does have a lot of injuries as well, but it's that running back situation. What does Lynch do there? So that's the key thing. But I think the Niners win on the road and lock up the number 1 seed in the NFC. So those were my picks for this week, guys. This is a quick recap. I got the Bills, Browns, Packers, Chiefs, Bears, Pats, Buccaneers, Saints, Raiders, Rams, Eagles, Colts, Steelers, Titans, Cowboys, and the 49ers winning this week. If you agree or disagree, put your answers in the thing line. Don't forget the question of the video. If your team's already got a guaranteed playoff spot locked up, they can't move any higher, they can't move any lower, would you play them would you play your starters this week, or just let them rest going into the playoffs? Until next week when I see you for the wild card predictions, this is the DOUG, the Fat Man, and Fire Ninja, and Johnny and Dave in the comments section signing off saying I hope you had a Merry Christmas, and I hope you have a good New Year's coming up. See you for the wild card next week.
Canada.